Head over to miniaturemarket.com. We have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Tribes of the Wind. Hello my friends, it's Game Boy Geek here, and today I'm joined by my friend
Greg Dixon. Thanks for having me.
Today we are going to be sending some Wind Riders off to different tiles, clearing out pollution, putting out villages and shrines, and we're going to be creating a new world. Let me give you an overview of how it works, and I'll see you on the other side. In Tribes of the Wind, it is a card-driven game that is beautifully illustrated by Vincent Dutray, and you're going to be using these for different effects, but some of them are contingent upon the cards that your other opponents or players around you have. Let's show you. Each player gets their own board with a different character, and there is some asymmetry to that character on the board. Now, over the course of the game, you have these Wind Riders out in your headquarters, and they're going to be moving and flying to tiles. Now these are undeveloped land, and there's pollution that starts in certain amounts, right? So what's going to be happening is you're going to be trying to get tiles to place in these lands, and you're going to be trying to get these Wind Riders to get to those tiles to then create villages. So let's talk about how it works. On your turn, it's very simple. You're going to do one of three things. Now in this game, it's sort of like a Hanabi, where you get to look at your cards, and you can see what the other player's cards are. They actually have these little holders that comes with the game. Now we're going to look at this. There's different types of cards, like these ones are yellow with their wind and blue water and green with the leaves there. And you'll see this here. So you can look and you can see what types of cards you have more than of maybe one of your neighbors or even maybe both of your neighbors. For example, I have two blue cards. They have one and they have one. I have more than both my neighbors. Green, I have one. I'm tied with them. Yellow, I have two. I have more than both my neighbors, and that's going to be important. Because, for example, let's say I've got this blue card here. This one says if I have more water cards than one neighbor, I'll get 3 water, which essentially is currency in the game. But if I have more than both of my neighbors, I get to remove a pollution, and I get 3 water. Where this one says, hey, if I have more water than just one player, I get 4 water. If I have more than all players, I can actually build a tile for 3 water or take 6. So because I have the better thing here, because I have more blue cards than other players, I can do this better action. So let's do this one here, where I can actually get to build a tile here for 3, or I could take 6 water. But you actually start with some at the beginning of the game. So I discard that card, and I would take one of these tiles that's here, and let's say I just take this one, for example, and then this would end up refilling at the end of my turn, where there'd be more tiles to think about. Now I'll build that tile, let's say next to this one like this. Now I can't build it anywhere that has pollution. So if I want to build down here, I'm going to have to remove that pollution there first. Now, however, when I did place this, I actually have to add pollution to all adjacent areas that don't have a tile there. So I'll go ahead and put one here, and I will put one here like that. Now at the end of my turn, I'll draw a card face down, one of these, or one off the top. And let's say, you know what, maybe let's just take this one here. And then this is going to refill. That'll be the next player's turn. Now on a future turn, let's say you play something like this and you're able to move Wind Riders depending on how many of these cards you have versus the player. Now for every Wind Rider movement, this is one from your headquarters to here. I can go here for a second one. I can go here for a third one, and then here for a fourth one. That would be 4 movements. Let's say that's what I did there. I said I did 4 movements. Now I have these on both spots here. Now for my turn, on the next turn, if I have one full like this, I can build a village. So what happens is these, by default, go back to my headquarters. I will flip this over, and I will place a village here. Now, building a village is important because at the end of the game, they get you 3 points for every one you've built. But it's also a clock for the game. When someone builds their 5th village, well, then that's going to trigger the end of the game. Now, some of these tiles have special abilities, like this one has a catapult. That allows you to take a Wind Rider and place it on any tile. And you can even place it on the one that you just made, because now, as I start to sort of build out and stuff like that, it'll be quicker for this one to get there, for example. Now, also when you build a village, you get one of these village cards. Now, these cards have a left and a right side. A right side is you could take it for this benefit. I could remove 1 pollution, get 2 Wind Riders, and I could build a tile for 6. Or I can slot it to the left of my board and have this as an end game goal, meaning at the end of the game, if I have all these satellite dishes covered, it'll get me 8 points, for example. So you're always thinking long-term goal or get the short-term gains, and you have to decide right when you build the village. And at the end of your turn, you fill this all up, but there's all different things like putting a temple on these 2 spots. We're going to talk about that in a minute. or having 3 of the same types of tiles in this type of contraption here, or having 3 villages with this ability on them, things like that. Speaking of these temples, on your turn, the last possible thing you can do, you're only doing one thing, playing cards, building a village, or building this temple. You discard any 3 cards, and then you build one of these. And when you build them, you get a certain thing, like 2 water, or 3 wind rider movements, or remove 2 pollution, or build a tile for 1 water. So you can do that, and you place this on a tile, and it just can't be on where there's another tile. Now, each board has a character, and they have their own sort of deck of guide cards, and there's 2 ways to get those. One is to build tiles so that orthogonally they go through these colors. Like, for example, I have purple and green, and then off green if I build a yellow, then a purple and a yellow. If I can snake that out, I'll get a guide card. Or in this case, this one's special ability is if I have 3 of these village cards that I just showed you, if I have 3 of those on the left side, I'll also be able to trigger that bonus and get my guide cards. For example, once per turn, I could spend a water and get 2 wind rider movements. Or every time I build a tile, I can do it for 2 less, but it always has to cost at least 1. Every time I build a tile, I can move one of my wind riders to anywhere. Or when I play a green card, I can remove a pollution and get this. They're all awesome, and each player has different ones. They're really cool. That's pretty much it. You're either playing a card, discarding cards to place a temple, or creating a village, and you'll do that until everybody has until someone has done their 5th one, and then you're going to score points. You're going to score points for all your final endgame goals from these cards. If you're the first one to do your 5th village, you'll get a 5-point bonus. You'll get 3 points for every village. You'll get 7 or 3 points if you build 4 or 3 of those shrines. You'll get 12, 7, or 3 points if you've built 9, 8, or 7 tiles on the board. And you'll get 12, 7, or 3 points if you have 0, 1, or 2 pollution on your board at the end. And whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, another interesting twist of this is in a 2-player game, one of your neighbors is the line of cards that you're drawing from, so you can specifically manipulate by taking these cards and influence what one of your neighbor has, which is an interesting twist in the game. Now, before I get to my final thoughts, you may know that health and fitness is and always has been a big part of my life, but health and fitness hasn't always been intertwined with tabletop gaming until now. Jordan from Phoenix Performance Coaching is a tabletop gaming enthusiast and specializes in helping other gamers with their health and fitness goals. He provides 100% online, personalized health and lifestyle coaching platform that's built specifically for tabletop gamers, and it also includes nutritional counseling for those who want it. Jordan has a master's degree in exercise physiology, has been training clients for over 7 years with over 300 success stories, and you can sign up today, and your first month is completely risk-free at phoenixperformancecoaching.net. All right, there is Tribes of the Wind. First of all, my favorite artist in board games.
Vincent Dutray.
Vincent Dutray. We just got finished playing another game of this right before this.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said during the game is like, gosh, his art is just so good. It just makes you like any game of his better than you normally would.
It takes like a game up a star.
Every time. And you're just staring at these cards, you're like, gosh, they're so beautiful. You know?
Well, this is like one of the most beautiful post-apocalyptic games. And like, it's supposed to be this like barren future that pollution has like swept the land. And I'm looking at the art like, it looks like a paradise. It's a very pretty post-apocalyptic nightmare.
This is an interesting twist on the Hanabi card mechanism. Yeah, okay, because in Hanabi, it's cooperative.
Yeah, this is competitive, obviously.
And Hanabi is like, they're flipped so you can't see your cards.
Right.
This is similar to that, but like in reverse. Because A, it's not cooperative. I mean, and B, you can see the types of their cards, but you can't tell what they really have. But in this, it's a
cool mechanic of the way that you trigger your abilities based off of what you can see in other people's hands. You don't know what their card does exactly, but you know it's a blue card, or you know it's a red card. And your card might say, if you've got more red cards than anybody next to you, you get to do this cool thing. And so you're very much invested in other people's turns, just if nothing else, based off of what they pull and how their hand is changing. And so even if you're playing with a lot of players and there's a little bit of downtime, you're still invested in what people are doing, which is kind of a cool, unique, kind of feels innovative. Yes, Hanabi has something similar, but it's so different than Hanabi that it feels very fresh.
the order of operations in this game is a puzzle that will change turn to turn, not even just game to game, turn to turn.
Yeah, because you're looking at your hands going, I need to get this card down, but two things need to happen before that can happen. So you're constantly kind of working through that puzzle as you play.
That's the best part of it. That is the part of this game. That is the game.
It feels like no downtime as a result.
Right.
Because you're always planning and replanning based off what other people are doing.
Yeah, although when you're doing that, you might say, okay, I need to get more yellows than others. Okay, so I'm going to play this card, and I'm going to draw a yellow. And so next time I'm going to play this, but then the other two players might also draw a yellow, right? And then you're like, okay, now what do I got to do?
As a result,
you've got to be able, this is a very tactical game.
Yes,
that you need to be able to have a plan and realize that 50% of the time that plan is going to have to change to something else.
Well,
if you're okay with that and you like that, which I do actually, you'll like it. But if you don't like having your plan messed up because of no control, something that somebody else did that maybe you could tell that they were going to do it, but maybe not, the game's probably not for you.
Well, it's interesting because you have these goal cards that you're getting as you play, so you're kind of figuring out how you're going to score as you go. And those objectives are very strategic.
Yeah.
Like I have to get these tiles in these positions, build these buildings on these tiles, and so it's like that's the challenge of the game. Here's a super tactical game. Now plan a strategy with that, and it's like, oh, how do I do that? And that's the fun challenge of it, honestly.
It is, and most of the time you can make your long-term strategies work.
Yes.
But the game is a race.
Yes,
really, you're trying to get your 5th village down.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like the last game we just played, it can end sooner than you think it's gonna. I had one. Village left.
Yeah.
He had
two,
and didn't look like he was close, but he was able to get a couple of bonuses that got him some stuff that allowed him to trigger the end game before I was able to do it. Where if I thought he was that close, I could have done it.
Yes.
But I didn't. I was going for my last bonus card, and it can. I like games that end before they should. Rather than after they should.
Then overstates welcome.
This one ends, feel like you're there, and then it ends fast. But it's good. It's balancing pollution with the wind riders, with the resource management. Yeah. There's I don't know. It's very interesting.
There's a lot to do. There's a lot to consider, a lot to think about, and you really do need to pay attention to what other people are doing. I think that's what kind of nipped you in the bud last time. Is you didn't realize how close I was. And if you had sat and processed a little longer, you probably would have and played very differently as a result. Because you talked about how it's a race. Finishing first, getting that last green building down first is huge.
It's 5 points.
You're going to get a 5-point bonus. Plus, every green building down is worth, what, 3 or something.
Yeah.
So if you can do that and other people don't get their last one down, it's almost like an 8-point bonus.
It is.
I think the winning score this time was 50-something. So 8 points is like a huge percentage. So the whole game feels tense and rushed and fast-paced because of that. And I love that about it. You're constantly going, how close are other people? What are they doing? What are they working on? What do I need to prioritize? I have all these different ways to potentially score, but what do I really need to focus based off of how other people are doing in this race? It's very engaging.
I like it a lot.
Player
counts. Wait, before you
player counts. Okay,
player counts.
Yes.
So 2 players we both feel is the best because in 2 players, the display of cards that you're pulling from is the third player. And so when you're playing cards, you can manipulate that. You have a little more control.
Yep.
And there's less downtime.
Now, we've only played it at 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
So there might be another player count that, if we were to play. It says best at 3 on BGG, actually, which is interesting.
I can already tell I'm going to like it best at 2 because
I think so too.
Being able to manipulate the third player, their cards, again, in a game that's somewhat not random, but like you have a little less control than normal, having a little bit more agency over that is going to be the best version of the game. There's nothing with a third or with 4 players, there is 0 reason to play this with more than 3, honestly. All it does is add time. Because you don't care about the 4th person that's sitting across from you. Because they have no agency on what you're doing other than they might race and finish before me. So this is not, I probably won't play this with 4 players. Although if 3 other people were like, hey, do you want to teach it to me? I like the game enough that I would.
Oh, absolutely.
But if, like when you have 500 games to look at, and someone goes, do you want to play this with 4? I go, I've got a better game for 4.
Well, it says 90 minutes, which you would think would be the 4 player, but I don't think
it says no, the box says 20 minutes per player. So
well, on BGG it says 45 to 90.
20 minutes per player is pretty accurate because when we played a 4-player game, it lasted an hour 15.
Yeah.
But we played the recent 2-player game, and that took us about 45. So
I don't know if 4 players would take 80 or 90 though. I feel like you could knock it.
It did take us an hour and 15. But
okay, 75 though. See, that's different.
So
So
two
even
players,
at 4 players, it's pretty fast. Is
two
all I'd
players
say.
the best.
Yeah, it seems that way, at least in our opinion. Although I will say, BGG says 3 is the best.
If you're okay with changing your plans and you like tactical games,
Yeah.
this is absolutely fantastic. There's something.
very
All right,
engaging.
so there's some of the things we don't like about it.
Yeah, there's some nitpicks though.
Yeah.
Just small little things
So-
that we were surprised that they went
So
this
each
direction.
player in
with
the
it.
asymmetric has their own deck of cards, and you can unlock really cool, really powerful abilities by doing certain things, which is awesome. The problem is, to get those unlocked, you're usually at least halfway, if not 3/5 of the way through the game by the time you're able to unlock one of those goals. And by that time, a lot of the abilities that you're getting are like, well, I'm only going to use it 1 or 2 more
Game's
times.
almost over already.
It almost feels like those should come out faster. It almost feels like you should start with one of those. However, when you start with one of those, so there's one of the ways to get those cards is you build this like
5 tile.
5 tiles of certain colors that's only on your board,
Yeah.
and that's hard to do. And so you get focused on this one thing,
Right.
and all it does is get you a card that now you've already built 5 tiles.
Yes.
So the game's already half over.
Well, like for instance, this last game we played, I built 6 total.
Yeah.
And I won. So you can win with 6 tiles, and you don't get one of your customizable asymmetric powers until you build 5.
It's almost
It's
like
too late.
it's almost like you should start with one of those powers, and then just for that weird thing where you build the things, just give someone extra points for that, right? And then because everybody else has an asymmetric way of getting that.
Yeah.
So there should be you start with one, and your asymmetric way is how you get your second one. That little tile thing just gets you extra points.
Well, I
Like,
could see
'cause
it.
having that ability is
Well,
so
the
cool.
asymmetric ability could be really something that you could do quickly, so you get that ability fast. And then maybe the second ability, yes, you get late game, fine, but you do get something else for putting those tiles down as well.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like if someone said, hey, we're going to play this game with asymmetric player powers, oh, but you don't get to use your asymmetric player
Till the
powers
game's
until we're
almost-
75% into the game. You're like,
Or at
why?
least half.
I mean, I think this last time I used one of them like once or twice, and the other one I don't think I used at all.
Yeah.
Because it was contingent on playing a green card.
Right.
And
by that point, you had already built
By that
everything.
point, I built so many tiles with the green cards built tiles that, and then maybe I should have picked a different ability, but it was just like, okay, this is kind of wonky that we customize and we use our cool asymmetric powers, but only once or twice at the very end of the game.
That aspect feels like it should have been developed further.
Yeah, that feels. I mean, I'd love to have the designer explain it to me. Like, why is it this way? Because this just doesn't make sense to me.
But
It's a small thing, though.
with
The
that,
game is
with
still
that
super engaging
nitpick,
without
the
it.
game is still fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I love it,
And
but it could be even better.
it could be even better. But for me, I like the game enough that it is going to be getting a saxophone serenade, which doesn't happen often these days anymore.
Yeah, that's impressive, especially for a game
Although,
that has a very clear
from
thing
the
that you'd like to
reviews,
change.
you might be like, well, Dad, you saxophone serenade one of every 3 of your reviews. Maybe, but I only really review things that I really like anyway.
Yeah.
The amount of games that I play that come through here that don't get reviews
my
is
gosh.
more.
Yeah.
Like only about 1 of every 4 games that comes through here I even review, and then out of those, maybe 1 out of 3 or 4 gets a saxophone serenade. So it's really like 1 out of 10 to 15 games that come through the door that I play actually gets a serenade. So it might seem like more, but for me, it's if I keep something, I absolutely love it.
There's so many games that we play that never get any content made of. Or the only thing you'll get is the first impression that you do on your...
Yes, and so if you're looking for first impressions on stuff that we don't like a lot,
Yeah.
you will see those on the Patreon account.
Yeah, if you want to see Dan hate on games, back him on Patreon, because those games will sit and go, this is trash, and you're never going to see anything else about it, and then it goes away.
And so you might say, so that's patreon.com/GameBoyGeek. So you might say, well, why don't you review those, Dan? Why don't you say, you know why? Because when I spend 8 hours on making content on a video, I just personally I would rather spend that labor of love into something that I'm excited about. So it doesn't feel like a slog.
Well, you want to spotlight things you're excited about.
Right.
Yeah, you want
And so you
people
want-
to be aware of what's great, not like, here's another one to avoid.
Right, but if you want to see that stuff, Patreon's great. So there we go. It gets Saxophone Serenade, so let's hit it. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table into a high-quality gaming solution, but they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with over 20 styles of thematic game mats in 11 different sizes from notable board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and real cool accessories, experience what thousands of other gamers enjoy by upgrading every game you play with a Game Topper system. Save hundreds of dollars on Game Topper package deals that are in stock now for immediate shipping at GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.